Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our final hangout from the Aquarius Reef Base today in the Florida Keys. My name is Joe Grabowski. I'm the founder. Um, for those who don't know, technical issue today, connecting with Aquarius. Weather was an issue to start, and they're just starting to make their way down to the lab now, but it is unlikely that they'll be able to pop in time. But I am joined by the education team today at the watch desk, Eileen and Kathy, and they have a wonderful presentation that they're going to share. Plus, there'll be opportunities coming up in April where we will connect with Aquarius again, and obviously the groups who joined us get a spot when we are able to make. And we'll wrap up with a little Q come to a close. So throw it to them now.
We were having trouble hearing you. Is it our turn now?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So hi guys. My name is Kathy, education coordinator. This is Eileen. She's the director.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And I do apologize again, the issues connecting with Aquarius, but it kind of happens when you're dealing with the world's only undersea research lab 60 feet below the surface of the ocean. So yeah, we can work under pressure here pretty good. So not to worry, we have a nice intro video and presentation that we're going to share with you guys, which will hopefully set the stage and teach you guys a little bit about what it is that we do here in the Florida Keys and why we feel it's so important. Shouldn't take very long, and then we'll go ahead and jump to some maybe a few questions and some discussion afterward. So without further ado, give us 1 second, and we're going to go ahead and share our screen so that we can start our PowerPoint.
All right. Before we share screens, I noticed that I can't see Hannah. And I guess that last group never was able to enter, unfortunately.
No, but I did speak with Hannah, and same boat as the museum from earlier. So they're watching and listening.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
All right. Hi, Hannah. Thanks for joining.
Okay. Well, then let's get started.
All right, so today we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about the Aquarius Undersea Lab, the world's only inner space station. So essentially what we do is relatively simple. We live and we work beneath the ocean. While the technology is amazing, sometimes it doesn't work, as we can see, and our staff is firmly committed to why we do this.
You know, being that Aquarius is the only undersea research laboratory in the world, I feel that what we do is especially important, and that we play a really important role, not only in doing research, training astronauts, but also in inspiring people and inspiring the future of ocean conservation. You know, we're in a really critical time right now, so what we do is paramount.
All right, so for the next few minutes or so, we want to take you guys on an incredible journey where science fiction is in fact science reality.
Where explorers, young and old, are pushing boundaries and challenging conventional thinking. And, you know, it truly can be done, you know, living underwater. A lot of people think it can't be done, but we have proof that it can.
So this is also a place where man and machine interact seamlessly in an extreme environment. And we'll go into details about what this all is. It's a place where pioneers are learning how to sample an asteroid and even colonize Mars.
Where sensors are unlocking the mysteries of a 4-billion-year-old planet, so that we can gain insight on how man is altering climate in mere geological seconds. You know, we've changed our planet in pretty drastic ways, and what we do at Aquarius is helping us understand our actions and hopefully come up with solutions.
This is also a place where expeditionary medicine is tested in the most trying of conditions so that what we learn can be applied in remote and impoverished regions of the world. What you're seeing here is a remote surgery being conducted where the doctor or the physician is actually in Texas, and the surgery is taking place in the Aquarius Underwater Research Lab. So what we do really does extend beyond marine science. Although that is our focus, we do quite a bit of biomedical work, looking at human physiology as well as medicine.
What I really like about this picture in particular is I want you to imagine that you are an astronaut and I want you to imagine that you're an astronaut and you're in space and suddenly you have this really sharp pain in your appendix and you realize you have appendicitis and you need your appendix removed right now. You know, what are you supposed to do if you're in space and you don't have a surgeon with you? So that's why we use robotics, and we tested this on a dummy and down at Aquarius, and we had a successful surgery. This is also going to be useful when we are thinking about doing surgeries in remote areas where people don't have access to a hospital, so it's pretty interesting.
Aquarius is also a place where the human condition is studied to determine how man reacts to stress, sleep deprivation, confinement, isolation, long work hours. We see it all the time when astronauts go to the International Space Station. They get very little sleep or are working around the clock. So we do look at the physiology of the human body and how they are able to deal with all these parameters.
Aquarius is a laboratory where we gather data, and this data is hopefully going to help motivate policymakers to manage our natural resources fairly and effectively, so that we can solve the big, colossal issues that we're facing. One of the biggest issues we're facing today is climate change. We've begun to lose. We've lost 50% of our coral reefs in the past 50 years. As you can see, that white coral has become bleached. And you can see this all over the Keys when you go diving. It's really heartbreaking, to say the least. And what we do at Aquarius helps, this monitoring of coral reefs. We're trying to learn more about the resilience that these ecosystems have. Hopefully we can help restore what damage has been done.
Aquarius is also a place where teachers come to get energized, as you see with Amy and the other 4 teachers that are actually entering Aquarius as we speak. A place where artists also come to be inspired, and where the next generation is hopefully motivated to change the world.
So, throughout today we spoke to many classrooms, and something that I really like to think about is you never know what student you're inspiring. There may be a 5-year-old that learns about Aquarius, or maybe like a 7-year-old that learns about Aquarius today that becomes so motivated and inspired that they later become the person who designs the next version of Aquarius, the next underwater habitats. Aquarius is the only underwater habitat left, and we need to look towards the future. We can't allow the future of living underwater to die, when Aquarius does.
Okay. It's also a place where creativity and a sense of exploration are primary job requirements, and where everyday people like you and me can use our talents and energy to help us shape the future. Welcome to Aquarius.
Belts out. Synchronize your watches if you care to. Verify your computers. Make sure they're on. Set the air. Good battery. Read both regulators, primary and secondary.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Aquarius. So it is a remote saturation diving facility. It's deployed 63 feet below the ocean surface, just about 25 miles southeast of where Kathy and I are sitting right now. So Kathy and I are at the shore base, and we didn't do a good job of telling you guys that at the beginning, but we'll go ahead and after we're done with our presentation, we'll give you guys a quick tour of mission control, which is essentially where we're sitting right now. The actual Aquarius habitat is much like a yellow school bus. It's 43 feet long by 9 feet wide and consists of a wet porch where divers enter and exit the water, and 2 locks that can be independently pressurized. The entry lock contains the bathroom and most of the mission-specific equipment. The main lock is the living area and contains the galley or the kitchen and bunks for 6.
So normally when we have a mission, there are 6 people that can stay there. That doesn't mean that the teams aren't much larger. Normally, for example, let's say we have NASA coming. They have like at least 30 people here, you know, between being on the shore, being on the boats. There's lots of divers, but the only people that end up saturating are those 6. So we've got 2 habitat technicians that essentially they're there in case of any type of emergency. They're prepared to you know, to go through any protocols that we may need to run. Also, so we've got the 2 technicians, and then we have the 4 teachers or scientists or astronauts or what have you. Yeah.
So Aquarius is connected to the life support buoy. Wait, not yet. Hold on a sec. That one, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that was a video. Sorry, guys. So Aquarius is connected to the life support buoy at the surface. The life support buoy contains air compressors, generators, and telecommunications equipment through a microwave link capable of transmitting data at a rate of up to 150 megabits per second. Aquarius is in constant contact to mission control 9 miles away, where we are right now, which is onshore in Isla Morada. The life support buoy is 30 feet in diameter, and it is connected to Aquarius by way of a 200-foot cable. Okay, since Aquarius aquanauts are saturated, they cannot surface without undergoing a lengthy decompression. So we'll talk a little bit about this in this next slide. So Aquarius is actually located in Coral Reef, which is part of the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, 63 feet underwater. So Aquarius is actually connected to the life support buoy by way of that 200-foot cable. There you have Aquarius, which is attached to a base plate, which is fastened to a sandy bottom. It gives you divers and any teams that we basically host access to both deep and shallow reefs. We set up line highways, like you'll see in a minute, in order for us to reduce the risk of having our team get lost on the bottom when we're working at remote study sites.
These line highways are connected to way stations, also called gazebos, and basically these are like cups underwater. They're air reservoirs so that the divers can, you know, talk to each other, fill their scuba tanks, eat a sandwich. It just gives them like a break room, essentially. Oftentimes when they're at Aquarius conducting research, they will venture pretty far away from the habitat. And they'll be away for, you know, 9, 10 hours, so they need to make sure to have a spot to be able to talk to each other, communicate. Yeah.
And also on these line highways, we actually have a plastic set up along the rope that resembles an arrow. So should the visibility become poor, or should, you know, the divers lose their mask for some reason and not be able to see underwater, all they have to do is actually feel the line highway, feel the way the arrows are pointing, and they are able to get back safely to Aquarius. Mm-hmm. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually take you guys on a tour of the interior of Aquarius. The one that's going to be narrating is Andy Mogensen from the European Space Agency and a recent aquanaut. He spent time aboard the International Space Station this past September, so he's going to give us a look at the habitat, and then we'll talk a little bit about that partnership that we have with NASA and how astronauts are utilizing it for training.
Tuesday evening, we're in the habitat under the sea. That can only mean one thing: the mission has started. Let's meet the crew.
Hey there, I'm Joe Acaba. I'm a NASA astronaut and commander for Sea Test 2. Hey, soy Chinoguchi from JAXA. Good to be back in the wake with you.
Hey, Rubens, NASA astronaut. I'm pretty happy to be here.
And I'm Andy from ESA, and we're really excited, all of us, to start the Sea Test mission. And we welcome you to Habitat Aquarius. Let's take a tour. This is the entry port with the moon pool. As you can see down here behind me, this is where we enter and exit the habitats from. This is where we store our diving equipment. This is where we have all of the air connections. And it also serves up as our shower. Next, we get to the entry lock, which serves as an airlock with the two slidable doors. It also has a hygiene station where we can brush our teeth. And most importantly, our comm station where we can talk to the divers who are out on EVA, and with Mission Control Center topside. Stepping further into the habitat, we get to the galley where we can prepare our food. We have a small table for eating where Suichi and Kate are sitting. Hey guys.
Hi.
And all the electronics for controlling the habitat. And last but not least, we have our bunk room with 6 bunks for the 6 people on board Aquarius. There's not a lot of room, as you can see, but plenty for sleeping.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about saturation diving and what that means. It's really a matter of simple physics and human physiology. So right now we're all saturated to 1 atmosphere of pressure. So the gas dissolved in our blood and in our tissues is proportional to the air pressure in the room that we're each sitting in. So none of us really are experiencing any adverse effects until we alter the air pressure. So what happens when we go underwater? As we increase the pressure, more gas is dissolved into our blood and tissues. The beauty of this process, however, is that once we reach a certain depth and stay there, our tissues become saturated and we can stay at that depth indefinitely.
That means there's no reason that people can't live underwater. Isn't that pretty amazing? So your body can become used to, an increased pressure like you would if you were underwater. So technically, we could colonize our oceans.
So we can only safely return to the surface only by allowing this gas to slowly come out of our tissues, to come out of solution, and also by exhaling those gases away. Since aquanauts inside Aquarius are at about 2.5 atmospheres of pressure, this decompression process takes a very lengthy 16-hour period. And if we don't decompress, the gas inside us expands upon ascent, causing decompression sickness, or the bends for those of you that dive. So really, there's 2 main advantages to saturation diving over standard scuba diving from the surface. So first of all, if you're a diver and you want to dive to a depth of 95 feet of seawater using air or an oxygen-enriched gas from the surface, then you'll get about 60 minutes to do your work over a 24-hour period. So if you think of yourself as a marine scientist, you basically only have about an hour at that depth to conduct your research, make your observations, collect any data that you have. But when you compare this with saturation diving from Aquarius, these same divers now get 540 minutes per day to do their work. So basically, this translates into almost a 10-fold increase in productivity. So now these same divers or these same marine scientists are able to spend 540 minutes a day collecting data, making observations, and really accomplishing their objectives in a very short period of time. Secondly, there's also an increased safety margin.
So the most dangerous part of diving is when you are ascending, when you're coming back up to the surface from the bottom. That's why when scuba divers need to conduct safety stops in order to allow those gases that accumulate in your blood to go to dissolve, essentially. And so when you're at Aquarius, you don't have to worry about the bends because your body is becoming used to that pressure. And it makes it a whole lot safer. You know, you're eliminating the most dangerous part of diving.
So in addition, Aquarius operations are overseen by proficient, highly trained staff that have been doing this for over 20 years. All aquanauts, before they're even allowed to step foot in Aquarius, undergo a rigorous training program for a minimum of 5 days. Here, these folks are well versed in diving physiology and practice using all the diving and safety gear before each mission begins. So they really understand what they're going to be doing, what the aims and objectives of their work is, and how to utilize all the equipment, including all the diving equipment. Okay. All right. So essentially, Aquarius was built with safety in mind. So we have redundant systems in place, and Aquarius actually has the capacity to function independently from the life support buoy and from the surface, from mission control, for a minimum of 72 hours.
So if there ever was an emergency, for example, and the life support buoy stopped working, the divers would be just fine. They would have 72 hours of leeway to go through their 18-hour 16 to 18-hour recompression, and then they could just go back up to the surface without having to worry about doing safety stops or having to worry about decompression sickness at all. So what we do at Aquarius is, you know, we have a 5-fold mission. Of course, being the world's only underwater laboratory, we focus highly on scientific research. The research that we conduct at Aquarius is critical, especially in a time where we're dealing with the effects of climate change. We've lost 50% of our coral reefs globally in the past 50 years. This is because of carbon pollution. Well, this is partly because of carbon pollution, and basically our oceans are becoming more acidic, and that, you know, coral is an animal. Coral can't live in an acidic environment, and so it gets expelled and it ends up turning white, like that picture you saw earlier. Another very important thing that we research at Coral Reefs is potential medicines. There are a lot of medicines, like for cancer, heart disease, diabetes, that come from coral reefs, and that's why we really need to protect these ecosystems, because it would be a shame if we lost the cure to cancer because we lost the components of the ecosystem that offer us those medicines.
So since 1993, we've conducted over 127 missions aboard Aquarius. Now, obviously, over half of them have been marine science in focus and have had direct management implications for the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. But nearly all the missions that we do incorporate components of technology development and definitely education and outreach training. And this year, we're actually happy to report that in April, we'll be hosting the U.S. Navy, which utilizes Aquarius as an extension of their saturation diving facility. In July, we'll be doing the 20th mission with the NASA NEMO division, which is NASA's Extreme Environment Mission Operations division, where we'll be hopefully helping train astronauts that are going to be either living in the International Space Station, landing on an asteroid, or potentially heading to Mars. So we have an exciting year ahead of us, and then in the fall we're hoping that a proposal that we submitted gets funded on looking at the impacts of sharks on coral reef ecosystems.
So we do a lot of different things at Aquarius, between research, you know, scientific research, training astronauts, but what Eileen and I focus on really is education and outreach. We are kind of the science translation specialists of Aquarius. We are the ones that are out here really trying to share what goes on at Aquarius with the world. We just had a series of hangouts where we got to communicate with classrooms, and that's really like my favorite part of it, because you just never know who you're inspiring. You could be inspiring the next marine architect who builds the Aquarius of the future, and you know, being that Aquarius is the world's only underwater laboratory, we really need to be looking to inspire the future generations to care about our oceans and to want to explore them. we've mapped 100% of Mars, we've mapped 100% of the Moon, but yet we've only mapped 5% of our oceans. So we're in a really exciting time right now.
All right, so that pretty much brings us to the end of our presentation. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and stop sharing our screen and come back and let you guys have the opportunity to see the watch desk where we're sitting here, which essentially is mission control during a mission. And then we're happy to answer any questions.
And we're back. So here is the watch desk where we're sitting right now. I don't know if you got a good view of it. Can you see it? So this is mission control. Just like NASA has their mission control in Houston, or I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
But just like NASA has their mission control to make sure that the people in the space station are doing okay, we make sure to do the same thing for Aquarius.
Yeah, so during any given mission, you have basically our director of operations and the rest of the staff basically take shifts over a 24-hour period, staging divers in and out of the water, logging every activity that takes place, and just really monitoring the life support systems of Aquarius, monitoring the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels, pretty much anything you can think of just to ensure the safety of the group that we're hosting.
So yeah, any questions?
All right, thanks a lot, girls. Another great presentation. Let's see. We do have a few groups joining us, so let me just introduce them briefly. We have a group from Loggerhead Marine Life, so I think Hannah Campbell and Tommy Cutter are watching. The Penn State Nittany Divers and Friends. They're the group in the lower right who are watching. And the Flores family, they were in the Hangout for a little bit, but maybe they had some technical issues because they did drop out partway through the presentation. So turn the microphone on, and let's see if our dive group has some questions.
Push the button, wait about 3 seconds before you start talking. Question?
So do you guys dive with Amy?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we dive up here in Pennsylvania where it's cold and
I can't
not like down there.
At all.
Yeah, they do it where it's nice and where it's cold. Yes, Amy's always very happy to come to the Keys. She was instrumental in the mission that we hosted this past November. Was such a hard worker and just talked you guys up so much. So I'm glad I actually had the opportunity to meet you guys. So I'll let her know that you guys were awesome, and she wanted me to say hello to you too.
We'll tell her we said hi.
We will.
It's really hard to hear.
That one's a little tough. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, the group from the Marine Center just sent me a question through email.
Okay.
So let me take a look here. So they're wondering, can you tell us a little bit about what your on-site Aquarius experience entails for guests? So it sounds like they're maybe wondering, just maybe
The on-site Aquarius experience?
I mean, I can kind of tell you what it was like to go into Aquarius, but I'm not sure if that'll
I don't know if
answer the
that's
question.
what they're asking. I'm sorry, Joe, you're breaking up. What was the question again?
Yeah. So they're just kind of wondering what the experience at Aquarius. So when you're there, what is it in diving to finishing? So maybe start to finish if you were someone visiting Aquarius.
Normally, the way it works when we host groups for the Aquarius Experience is basically similar to this presentation here at our shore-based facility. We have a 15-seat classroom behind us over here that we do. We basically host groups all the time. So we would start with an introductory presentation similar to the one you guys just heard. We'd offer a tour of our shore-based facility, give an opportunity to meet all the staff, all the operations staff, get a sense for what their roles are in terms of supporting missions and really facilitating research. Then the next step would be to, check out gear. If the group does not have gear with them, that means masks, snorkels, fins, tanks, weight belts, you name it. Then we'll give you a safety briefing on the boat. And then it's a 45-minute boat ride out to Coral Reef, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's spectacular, especially on a good day. And then talk a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of the life support buoy, where Aquarius is situated, what's around it, and then just one of the most amazing dives of your life. Some groups do end up being able to go inside Aquarius, so it does depend on how the actual Aquarius experience is set up. Most of the time, going into Aquarius counts as part of your bottom time, so it is a quick in and out kind of thing. But that really does depend on the group and what we decide, we're going to do with the group. But kind of in a nutshell, that's what the Aquarius experience is about.
Kind of just to share, I think we should kind of just share like what our experience was when we entered Aquarius for the first time. It's pretty much the best dive of your life. There's no feeling like going into this lab and looking out the window and seeing fish. It's awe-inspiring, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and it's I can't even put it into words. It's really awesome.
You have all the fish actually looking at you through the window.
Yeah, you're in the fishbowl.
You feel like you're in the fishbowl.
And and Aquarius also, it's become an artificial reef. It's been underwater since like 1993. So there's so much life around Aquarius. We saw tons of schools of fish all around it. I saw lionfish when I was there, which you typically don't want to see, but unfortunately they're an invasive species down here. Turtles. They even saw a whale shark the other day. It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty spectacular.
Sounds pretty awesome. I hope that I get down there someday.
Oh, Joe, you're going to come down there.
I have a question for you. So, just to clarify, the research that's being done, the overwhelming verdict is that the number one thing that can be done is more or less lobbying for changes in greenhouse gas emissions to save what's left of the reefs that we have?
Pretty much. I didn't catch the first.
You really cut out, but.
Okay, so I was just curious about the research being done leading to what can be done to save the reefs, and pretty much the number one only thing is lobbying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, it's the most important one.
Because it's definitely going to affect the amount of CO2 that ends up in the oceans and the rising acidity of it.
But if you think about it, there are hundreds of ways to do that. Through better cars, cleaner energy. I feel like the most important thing we can do is just go for renewable and just cut out fossil fuels completely. But that's my opinion. We need to stop offshore drilling. These are all, something that I really like to mention is drilling in the Gulf, because we just had an oil spill in the Gulf, but yet it's kind of for sale to the fossil fuel industry, and it's really a shame. So kind of just, I think one of the best things we can do is start that transition to renewable energy.
Yeah.
So are there any other things that we can do here on the ground from this research, or is that just the number one thing, just focus on that?
Well, there's a lot we can reduce our emissions by changing little things in the way we live. Just like the general stuff like biking to work instead of always using your car, picking food that is more sustainable, like
just small little things each of us can do. Yeah.
They say that small changes collectively are what's going to change the world.
Yep.
That's awesome. A great question. It's a great question. Or not question, comment. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
It's great that you put on as many of these, to as many students as you can reach to at least plant the roots for that awareness to grow, and that's a very good starting point from the research you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, and then for sale, I actually just read an article this morning about one of those auctions taking place in Louisiana, and that's what it is. They're auctioning hundreds of millions of dollars. It's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
I know that, like, for example, I could tell you a little personal story. My dad is a commercial spearfisherman, freediver, and so basically what he does every day is he goes spearfishing, catches fish, and sells that to fish markets. It's pretty much the most sustainable way that you can fish. And when the Gulf oil spill happened, even though it was in Louisiana, we were affected down here in the Keys. People were very afraid of fish. People were very afraid, and we still don't know what the effects of that oil spill are. And it's really shocking to me that our policymakers haven't done more to protect the Gulf, because it really affected so many people, and it's really a shame. That's why we do what we do, you know.
Did you say they're auctioning the oil wells that are still out there?
To the ocean floor, unfortunately.
Hi.
I just want to give a quick shout out. Oh, sorry, go ahead if you have a question.
Oh, sorry. I was just curious about the shark project that you were talking about. What does that entail?
What does it entail?
Yeah.
So basically, it's utilizing baited underwater cameras and sonar, low-frequency sonar, to essentially attract sharks to Conch Reef, to Aquarius, and just basically looking at what happens when sharks are present. How does that affect the behavior and distribution of reef fish, specifically the herbivores? If you come diving right here, the reefs that we have in our own backyard in the Florida Keys, they're completely changing. So instead of becoming corals, instead of continuing to be coral reefs, they're becoming more algae-dominated reefs. So now where we used to have brain corals and all kinds of beautiful, staghorn and elkhorn corals, you have just all kinds of algae, green and brown algae, just completely taking over the reefs. And there's many reasons why that's happening, but one of the big reasons they think is that they're hypothesizing is essentially because of the lack of apex predators in the area. So normally an herbivore would probably be really scared to venture far out in a reef, so would probably stay between the cracks and crevices of the reef and just graze in certain areas and keep those nuisance algae species in check. Well, with the lack of apex predators in the water column, these fish are getting gutsier and essentially traveling farther and not necessarily grazing certain patches like they were in the past. And so now all these opportunistic species are just taking over the reefs and really not allowing coral enough time to come back. So we started that mission this past November, where we actually did start that project, and Amy was one of the teachers that we embedded as part of the mission. And we were only able to attract one shark to Aquarius. So we're going to kind of change some things around with the guidance of some of the faculty that we have at Florida International University. And we're going to try it again and see what kind of research we're able to, so what data we're able to collect. But it's pretty fascinating, and it's part of the whole global fin print project where they're really trying to characterize the distribution of sharks worldwide. So it's part of a big project.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, sorry, I was going to comment on that. We've lost like 90% of our sharks, and part of the reasons for that is, the shark fin soup industry, and also just like the fear that people have of sharks in general. Just through conducting the education with classrooms, I've noticed that the first question that children will often ask is, well, haven't you been attacked by a shark? No, you haven't. And people just, there's really a negative stigma associated with sharks as a species, even though they only kill 10 people a year compared to like mosquitoes that kill millions of people a year. So there's just really a misconception about sharks that we need to change.
And they are indispensable parts of the food chain, and coral reefs will not survive without them. So, that's kind of the message too that we're trying to pass on.
Okay, well, I do want to give a shout out. I just have a message come in from someone who's watching. Otto from Lorena, Texas wants to say hi. A shout out to you guys.
Hi.
Yeah, so maybe our final, before we wrap up still, can you share with us?
Joe?
I'd love to if I could understand what you were saying.
We can't hear you, Joe.
Sorry, we're just not having a very good connection right now.
That's okay.
You're like thousands of miles away.
We hear you now.
Yeah, so the food. Both groups before asked about the food. If you still have it handy, maybe you can show what.
Sure, we can talk about the food. So it's not a fancy place, definitely not when it comes to meals. Aquarius is small. It's a highly pressurized and humid environment. So we don't have an oven or anything that we can actually cook food with. The only thing we do have is a microwave and a small refrigerator. So things like milk and fruit would tend to go bad rather quickly. So really the only thing that we do eat is packaged and processed foods, which is terrible. Here we have samples of some of the mountain house foods, freeze-dried food. It's camping food, very similar to what astronauts eat up in space. But here we have a delicious freeze-dried chili mac with beef. If anyone likes their veggies, you've got some green beans as well. So here we have some beef stroganoff with noodles. We also have a bunch of these that are eggs and bacon and sausage all mixed together. We have lasagna and spaghetti and meat sauce, and just put some boiling water and enjoy. So, according to the Aquanauts, they do say it's kind of bland in taste, so they just do put a lot of hot sauce on it and just hope for the best. But you'll find all kinds of stuff, M&Ms, all kinds of stuff down there. They tend to get hungry the more and more they exercise and swim, so they go through a lot of calories.
Something that is kind of important to remember is that anything that you bring down there that is in a package, like for example a bag of chips, is going to be compressed when you put it in that pressure. So they need to poke holes in like bags of chips so that they don't completely you know what I mean?
Yep.
I didn't know a better way to describe that.
So by the end of the missions or midway through missions, people are begging us for pizzas. Just please pot them down some pizzas.
And we try.
Do it, yeah. We try.
All right. Well, again, thanks to everybody who joined in today. Oh, someone's got a question. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just wondering, how was Aquarius built?
How was Aquarius built? That's a great question. It was actually built by Carolina Machine Works, I think back in the early 80s. I'm happy to send you the information. I don't know it offhand, but it was basically built by a company. It was deployed in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands originally. Aquarius, the history is that it actually belonged to NOAA and was operated by the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. While it was actually deployed in St. Croix, there was a hurricane that actually came by, Hurricane Hugo, and devastated Aquarius. So they actually had to bring it up to the surface. They had to refurbish it, give it a nice new coat of paint, doll it up a little bit, and then they moved it to the Florida Keys where it sits now. So it's actually been here where it is since 1993. But it is not the first underwater habitat. There's others like Tektite and all the different ones that Jacques Cousteau, Conch Shelf 1 and 2 out in the Red Sea and things like that.
Sea Lab by the Navy.
Sea Lab, Hydro Lab. So all of those basically were the predecessors, but Aquarius is now the only remaining one that is still active.
An idea that I really like to talk about is the fact that, Aquarius is the only underwater habitat, and Aquarius was built in the 80s. Think about what we can do today. We have 100 times better technology, and we just need the willpower politically and financially to invest in colonizing our oceans.
Yep.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
Awesome. Okay. Be amazing if we have more money and more resources devoted to more undersea study. Well, thanks to everybody who joined in live today. Quite a few people viewing the session as well, and thanks to those who did send in messages. Yeah, it sounds like we're going to have another opportunity to explore the reef base, hopefully in April, so keep your eyes out for that. We will you know, some days technology just doesn't go in our favor, but I think it's a great informative presentation. And actually, I'm just getting a new message in as we're speaking. Let me see what. No luck. It was another message from Texas, but it doesn't seem to be opening. Okay, well, again, thanks everybody for joining in. We've had a great series of across the U.S. from Virginia to San Jose in California, all live, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to.
Thanks for hosting.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thanks so much, guys.
Very nice to meet you all.
Hopefully next time we'll meet 60
Under
feet
the
under.
water. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, everybody, if you do have them, and yeah, we'll connect again. So we're signing off for today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.